be with you. And with your spirit. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus departed from there and came to his own native place, accompanied by his disciples. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach at the synagogue, and many who heard him were astonished. They said, "Where did this man get all this? What kind of wisdom has been given him? What mighty deeds are wrought by his hands? Is he not the carpenter, the son of Mary, and the brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us?" And they took offense at him. Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his native place, and among his own kin, and in his own house." So he was not able to perform any mighty deed there, apart from curing a few sick people by laying his hands on them. Jesus was amazed at their lack of faith. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to the Lord.
Well, Francis, Father, had said, Father Jerry Brinkman, a Redemptorist. I live in St. Peter's in Philadelphia, where we have the body of St. John Newman. And my present apostolate is preaching missions to the Spanish communities. He mentioned that we were 5 religious in the family. You know, that's nothing that we can brag about. I want to tell you something. Dad outlived Mom. And when he was about 80, 82 perhaps, sometimes we would get together in the parlor and have a beer and pretzels together. And Dad would laugh and talk and pleasant time with him. And one day he said, "Look, there's something that I want to tell you people." And I never said it to anybody before. It's this. He said, before we were married, Mom came to me and he said, "Herm, I have something to ask of you." And I said, "Well, sure." Anxious to talk to her, I loved her so much. And she said, "I would like that in our family we abstain from meat on Saturday in honor of the Blessed Mother and ask her protection on our family." Well, I was not too eager to do that. You know, in those days, by obligation, you didn't eat meat on Friday, and now you had this, you were opposing meatless Saturdays also. And it struck me as being maybe a little too Catholic, you know. And I said, "Well, one of them, I agree. For the Blessed Mother's special protection, we will, on our family, we'll do that." Now, do you think that that has nothing to do with the 5 vocations that came out of the family? Certainly. You know, that's what I say. We've got nothing to do with that. It's the Spirit, you know, working. I'll tell you why I'm here. You know, the needy communities of Christians sent petitions to the Council of Bishops, and they put them in a pool and they divide them. Every parish in the country would have one Sunday with an appeal. And that's what happened, and that's why I'm here. But let me tell you, when I first was ordained, I was sent to the Philippine Islands. You know, as a religious, you just say, go there and you go, you know. I didn't know a word of Tagalog, but I was happy about that. That this is great, you know, foreign mission, you know, I'm anxious to go at it. Well, the second night there, they burnt the rectory down to the ground. You know, here you would call a fire company and they'd come and, you know, put it out. There, you couldn't do that. You got everybody out and watched it burn. And it sort of, it's a shock right from the very start. You know, boy, look what we're up against. They have what they call the People's Army. They're what would you say, warrior, they're a dissident group. And, you know, everywhere, I guess you've got those, and they were against God knows what, and they burnt the rectory down. Well, when that happened, I got on the phone, called up my friend Frank in Brooklyn, who was the manager of our financial manager. Frank, you know, that thing happened here. Our rectory was burned down. He said, yeah, I know, I talked to the bishop about it, and I'm going to send you a check. Oh, isn't that nice? Kind of make up for all that we've suffered. And, you know, I learned something. You know, I learned that I didn't have to be alone, that other people were with me. But that wasn't the worst of it, because in my second week there, second Sunday, I was going out to my chapel. I have to tell you that the community had a favorite son. They had paid his way through the seminary, and he was one of them, and everybody liked him very much. And he had been ordained 3 weeks, and was part of the parish. And as I went out to my chapel in the morning, difficult to say, but I found Padre Felipe's head on a doorpost of the chapel. I think you get over something like that, but I think I still have. And my superiors, of course, put it all together, and they thought maybe better to get him out of there, because perhaps it was because he's a gringo. They're, you know, doing these things. So they sent me to Puerto Rico. That was a lot easier and a lot better, let me tell you. They sent me to Fajardo. And as you know, Puerto Rico, that's on the corner of the north coast. And behind it, you've got the mountains and the famous El Yunque Peak. And one day, a couple came to me and they said to Father, we live in Ondavalle, which is a small town on the other side of the mountains, on the other side of El Yunque. It's in the middle of nowhere, the mountains. And we don't belong to anybody. We don't know if this is Fajardo Parish or is it Humacao Parish. We don't know. It's just we're in the middle of nowhere. But we had a good group of Catholics there who would like to have Sunday Mass. Well, I said, I'll come out and take a look at it. And sure enough, they had a very nice group there, and they were all anxious to have Mass. So I said, look, I'll come out Sunday afternoon after things are finished in town. I'll drive out. And it's perhaps half-hour ride, but a pleasant ride through the mountains. And there was no great difficulty. The people had told me about flash floods. And they, you know, when they get stories like this, you figure they're exaggerating, you know. And I heard them, and boy, it must be terrible. Well, one Sunday I was going out, I was halfway there, and you know how it gets before a storm or before a heavy rain? The air gets heavy, kind of moisted. You can almost smell it on the air, you know. And that's what was happening this Sunday afternoon. And with that, I heard on the mountain rumbling. Oh boy, and this sounds like trouble. I better go to where I can protect myself. And I left the Jeep and I ran up maybe 100 yards up to an overhanging rock. When I got there in time, and the flood began to come down. Well, I don't know how high they were, and I don't know how long it lasted, because I was hanging onto that rock. The water was coming over it. I got soaking wet, but I was all right. And after 10 or 15 minutes, I came out and I was soaked, and I thought, now what do? You know, I just went back to my Jeep, and it wasn't there. It was down the valley, just a crushed wreckage of a Jeep. way down the valley. Boy, I don't know. Well, I'm closer to Olduvai than I am to Fajardo. I continue to walk out there. The people in Olduvai knew what had happened, and they sent a heavy truck out to see what happened to me. And that must have been quite a sight. He was soaking wet, disorientated after all I'd been through. They probably didn't recognize me. And they took me into Olduvai and gave me dry clothes. And, remember the shirt up to my elbow. And I sit there for them. Well, after that, they took me home. In the morning, I called Frank. God bless Frank. I said, Frank, you won't believe this, I lost my Jeep. I told him about the flash flood. He said, well, look, you take care of the insurance on your side, and I'll send you a check. Nice. Send you a check. I love those words. He did. What could have been something very difficult and troublesome turned out to be nothing. Because somebody was behind me. There were people I could depend on, that I wasn't alone. That's a great thing to realize. Sometimes a missionary, figure you're far from your family, your friends, and your country, and you're alone. But that sort of fills things up, And that's nice to know. That's nice to, to live with. In Dominica. Dominica is an island off the coast of South America. It's one of a leeward island. And I was working there a few years later, and the warning went out that a hurricane coming. It was Hurricane Marilyn, if you remember Marilyn. And the warning went out. Of course, people began to protect themselves and do what they had to do in the face of a hurricane. I ran out to the chapel with a Jeep, and I put in the Blessed Sacrament and the vessels and the vestments and everything I could get in the Jeep, and took them into town where they would be safer. Well, and Marilyn hit head on. Oh, and boy, that was a fierce hurricane. And when it was over, I went out to the chapel, and it was gone. Marilyn had just torn it apart, and there were tiles and 2x4s and zinc laying all over the place. Sometimes the zinc gets caught in a tree, and it looks kind of weird. Well, the people came out and said, "Look, what happened, Father?" I said, "Yeah, I can see it." I said, "Well, look, you people get whatever you can and use it to fix your homes." They had suffered a lot too. And the following morning, the Red Cross had set up a connection with the continent. And so I was able to do what? To call Frank. Well, this time Frank said, you took on a terrible hurricane down there, didn't you? Yeah, we sure did. Is anybody hurt? No, we're all right. And I said, Frank, I lost my chapel. He said, oh boy, here you go again. He said, well, look, I'll send you a check. Okay, thanks, Frank. But Frank, that's not going to do any good because, a small island has a certain amount of building material. And after a hurricane, you can imagine the price goes soaring. I said, no, a check won't help. So Frank thought for a moment. He said, look, have the 3 people who are going to build the chapel write out everything they need. Nails and paint and tiles and whatever. Send it to me. So we did that. 3 pages of what they needed. I faxed it to Frank. And then came the miracle. When you're on an island like that and you order something in the far away in the country or on the continent, figure you might get it by Christmas, Well, 10 days later, a 18-wheel truck, a van came in, and just full of all those things that we had ordered 10 days later. And that in itself was a miracle. And they got to work, and they rebuilt the chapel that looked even better than the one we'd had. And you think about it, somebody's behind me. You can count on it. It's a great feeling, let me tell you, to know that you're not alone. They don't have to leave their homes and don't have to leave their country. They intend to help you in so many ways. Believe me, you appreciate that. You know what it's worth. Sometimes, when the collection basket goes by, say, oh, here we go again, noticing it's after time, and we understand that. But try to put a face on that collection basket. Put the face of a missionary you know, or perhaps a sister or a worker in one of the missions. Say, no, it's not a basket now, it's for somebody. Here's somebody that I'm helping. Here's somebody that really needs it. And we cannot be too generous with the Lord. And if we do something for Him, He multiplies it. And that's what happens when we're good to Him. And so I present that to you and let you know that you're appreciated. God bless you. You would stand and make our profession of faith. I believe in God, Father Almighty. Now let us present our petition